Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a truly special online event today. It's called Release Narcissistic Trauma Stored in Your Body. Heal emotional imprints that cause overgiving, people-pleasing, and hypervigilance. My name is Stephen Dinan, and I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network. And I'm really blessed to be here with you, getting to learn more deeply about some of the patterns that really can create such havoc in people's lives and how to heal them. And we're seeing this playing out in the collective in various ways. It might be really triggered in your own life, whatever your history is around this. We're going to get some illuminating insights in how to work through narcissistic trauma in a way that's embodied and grounded and really helps to put you on a better path. So we're going to do so with Dr. Meg Haworth. She's a transpersonal psychologist, holistic chef, and author. She's taught for Shift before. And if you like what you hear today and you want to go deeper, we have a brand new program with Dr. Meg called Heal the Energetic Wounds of Narcissistic Trauma that we'll share more about towards the end of the hour. So, Dr. Meg, thank you so much for joining us here again.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. You're so right. This is so timely what we're talking about today.
Yeah, and we're not going to go into the specifics of why it's timely, but I think we should presence that because of the
Yeah.
collective zeitgeist, this is really coming up for a lot of people because there might be echoes of previous experiences coming up. And so let's
Yeah.
start with our journey today with a little bit about your journey. And obviously, when you are teaching about something, usually there's a background of
Yeah.
your own healing that had to go behind that. So maybe share a little bit about your own journey of understanding narcissistic trauma and why that is, and then how we can hold it in a more holistic way for healing.
Yeah, absolutely. So my story began with being raised by a narcissistic parent, and it was an incredibly difficult upbringing that brought me to having very low self-esteem, having just feeling really disconnected from myself, feeling like I couldn't really be myself. And by the time I was in my 20s, I had over a dozen illnesses, a lot of digestive illnesses like IBS. I had chronic infections in my lungs, my throat, my ears. It just was really from head to toe, migraine headaches. I had just all kinds of issues. And it took me a while to figure it out, but I found that there were several things that really helped to heal, and a major one was really working with the energy system, which is what I help people with today. Working with the beliefs and releasing those thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that get stuck in the body, but also food to help support the body to heal itself while I'm going through the process of healing. And then, which is something that we'll be talking more about. Yeah, so that whole the whole trajectory of what I went through really led me to do the work that I do today. And just it fuels the passion I have to help people really heal from these wounds and really just become who they were always meant to be.
Hmm. Well, talk a little bit about trauma and why this is narcissistic trauma. Because a lot of times it doesn't necessarily have to do with like physical level, harms on the body, but you're getting impacted in a lot of different ways, energetically, emotionally, spiritually. Maybe share about like why you would have such globalized kind of symptoms as you had from someone engaging somebody who is really in a narcissistic pattern.
Yeah. So emotional abuse is, I think, one of the most insidious forms of abuse that there is. And it's really, you look at the narcissistic parent and how they wield negative emotions. And you think about emotions and how much charge they have, especially those negative emotions. And narcissistic parents will use specific emotions to really, I call it emotional warfare, where they're basically shooting them at you. And if you're empathic and sensitive, like most people listening are, then you're going to be you're going to be sponging it in, is how I talk about it. So some of the major emotions that they're using are rage, anger, shame, guilt. It's a shame-driven disorder. So they're projecting their shame onto everyone around them because they refuse to touch their own shame. And so then I call us shame sponges. We're sponging that in. And not only are we sponging in their emotional energy, we have our own emotional reaction to it. And there's nothing that we can do with that reaction because nothing ever gets talked out or talked about in narcissistic family systems. So where do we put it? And that's a kind of the basis of a question for people to ask for themselves is, where do you put that energy? we tend to suppress it and push it down into our bodies. And then over time, we lose energy from our energy system. And then our biology just can't run itself like it's supposed to.
Hmm. So you're kind of getting constantly hit with this, kind of emotional, energetic kind of warfare.
Yeah.
Maybe share a little bit more about like what's behind, a narcissistic personality. Like what are the, causes of that? How does it get generated? And then what is the kind of core patterning of the system so people understand that better, and then how to begin to separate and heal from it?
Yeah, that's a big question. But narcissistic abuse, I mean, a lot of the research shows that narcissists are created. They don't come into the world this way. Now, from spiritual psychotherapeutic background, I would say there might be a combination of things going on here. But a lot of times it comes from them being passed down. Narcissistic abuse is passed down through the generations. So it's certain ways of behaving, manipulative patterns. They use all kinds of manipulation tactics to try to control everyone in the environment. And so some of the hallmarks of a narcissistically abusive person are like a grandiose sense of self, but not always. That's a specific type of narcissism. Sometimes they're covert and they may be like the nicest people, but they're the nicest people to other people. But inside the home, they belittle you, they shame you, they treat you like you don't matter. And you're constantly getting these same messages over and over again of, I never get it right, I'm not good enough, and I don't matter. Those three messages will get embedded in our systems. And those are some of the things. Another thing that's huge is, of course, the lack of empathy. They don't think about how anything is going to impact you as their kid. And you'll often feel like they don't see me, they don't hear me, they don't understand me, and they're not interested, or they don't care. That's a big message that we get as ACONs, adult children of narcissists, and all throughout, is they don't care about us. And that lack of empathy is that thing that makes us think that they don't think about impact.
Yeah. And so their empathy, because they didn't build something in their own upbringing, they actually can't seem to extend real empathy or real being able to take the view of the other into account, it sounds like.
Yeah, and they've created a false sense of self to try to, it's their own mechanism to try to get through their own experience.
Hmm.
And so they're honestly some of the weakest and most insecure people on earth. And
Hmm.
then, they're raising children and passing along a lot of that weakness and insecurity, and then all the coping mechanisms they created, but largely they're passing on this idea of that they want to project that false self that they created to try to get through the experience, whatever the experience was. And a lot of
Hmm.
times they are also victims of all different types of trauma
Hmm.
as well.
It sounded like when you were talking before about the kind of the emotional warfare, that there's some need to kind of subjugate or dominate or control the other that sort of makes a narcissistic person kind of feel more safe, more secure, or share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, 100%. It's about controlling people, but also dividing them. And so you'll see in the narcissistic family system how the narcissistic parent will be manipulating the kids and pitting them against each other and
Hmm.
literally training them to be in specific roles. And so that the kids, they don't want the kids to unite, because if the children are united, a united front, then they might rise up against the narcissistic
Hmm.
parent. But because they're using rage as a big thing that they're using, they're threatening you constantly to make you understand that they're superior and you're inferior. And that message is just going to be constantly redone over and over and over again.
So because they're just caring about themselves, it's a zero-sum game. They just want to boost themselves and whatever the cost to those around them, it sounds like.
Right. They literally do not care. But I would say too, and a lot of people get this wrong, is people think that the narcissist is so in love with themselves, and there's no self-love there. In fact, I say from a spiritual standpoint that there's no love that's allowed in and no love is allowed to go out. It's like they
Hmm.
disconnect from that in themselves, and then they do everything they can to try to disconnect you from the same, so that you become an extension of them, because that's how they see you, versus your own sovereign self, your own individual
Hmm.
self. They don't want that. Yeah.
I would imagine it's like a lot of disorders, psychological disorders, that there's a spectrum. I mean, so
Mhm.
maybe share a little bit
Yeah.
about, what's the kind of the worst end of the spectrum and how some people may get smaller doses of the same pattern, but that it still kind of leaves similar imprints.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there is all the way on the far end of the spectrum, people who actually have the personality disorder itself. And then there are people that are recycling behaviors, manipulative tactics that they learned from their parents. So they just keep recycling and don't even realize. But if they're introspective, if you're able to look at yourself and go, oh, you know what, that thing I just did, that was pretty manipulative, and go back and apologize for it. Those are things a narcissist, somebody who has the disorder, cannot do. They simply are unable to do that.
Hmm.
But on the other end of the spectrum would be self-love. And that's really where we take people, is into that realm of truly loving the self, respecting the self, caring for the self, giving yourself everything that your narcissistic parent was completely unable to give to you.
Hmm. So talk a little bit about being the child. Like, how does a
Mm.
typical child of a narcissistic parent sort of what beliefs, how do they make meaning of this reality in a way that makes psychological sense? Then we can go into the energetics of it as well.
Yeah. So children, when they're raised in this type of environment where it's all about control, they learn really early on, first of all, that they need to carry the emotional weight of the narcissistic parent because they cannot process their own. It's something kids sort of logically look at their parents and go like, wow, they can't handle this. I'm going to handle it for them, because
Hmm.
the child really wants to make everything better. And so this is where a lot of the people pleasing behaviors start to come in. This is one of the places. The other place is realizing that you have to fall in line and be like the narcissistic parent wants you to be. The more you're like that, the less problems they'll give you, but you'll still get a lot of still get a lot of abuse. But you start to realize, okay, if I fit into this box that they want me to fit in, and I'm just nice to them, even though that's not how I feel internally. So you start to see like this gets formed internally, where you have this internal world and this external world that gets split. And so you'll feel like two different people yourself because of the way that you're trying to react. You don't get to react in an authentic way. And that's really kind of the key to healing, is
Hmm.
becoming that authentic self.
Hmm.
And so being raised in that environment is it's incredibly difficult, with those kinds of emotions being thrown at you, the criticism, the belittling, the shaming, the guilting, and it's constant. There really isn't let up. And so the people pleasing is one. There's also, some kids become really rebellious against it, and it gets even worse for them,
Hmm.
because the behaviors of the narcissistic parents, they're just going to escalate when you
Hmm.
try to, uh, get into an argument with them.
Let's talk a little bit about the energetics and how that
Mhm.
manifests in terms of the impact on your system, this inauthenticity, needing to kind of be oriented to pleasing, to sort of stay out of trouble to the extent possible. Sort of how does that sort of impact? Because you're an example of somebody who had like really global breakdowns of a lot of systems, and so just understanding the energetics of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about emotions having tremendous energy, and those emotions that I talked about having such charge, anger, guilt, shame, jealousy, and envy are also two big emotions that you see a lot with narcissistic parents, particularly the mother, a mother who's a narcissist. Jealousy, competition, envy, all of those things. And so if you think about, you have an energy system, we all do, and energy is being drained from our system. First of all, we're giving it out, but also they're taking it. And it's like they're taking that energy. It's something that they refer to as narcissistic supply. And I really think of it as energy dynamics, where they're pulling on you, particularly on your power center, your center, your third center, the human energy system. And so that's your center of self-confidence. It's your center of personal power. So I've seen this over and over again, where they hook into the center of personal power and literally suck the life out of you. And so many people will say this to me. So many of my clients are, I just feel like my energy's been completely drained. Even being around them for 10, 15 minutes can be an incredibly draining experience,
Hmm.
because they're constantly pushing at you.
So they're almost kind of like energetic vampires in a certain way. They're kind of
Yes,
like harvesting life force from you by some of the subjugation tactics, it sounds like.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's really rough. So it sounds like, so there's a lot to like overcome this, obviously.
Mhm.
And what's your perspective on a spiritual level? Like, why incarnate into a situation like
Mhm.
this? What are people trying to build or cultivate from
Mhm.
this kind of experience sometimes?
Yeah, I think that's individual, and it matters based on who you are, what you came here to do, what your life purpose is. But those are some of the questions that will help set you free from this kind of programming and this kind of energetic bonding that happens. So basically, I mean, if I just look at so many people I know that have created incredible things out of the worst things that have happened to them.
Mhm.
Amazing amazing businesses, amazing foundations, organizations that really help people to heal. And I think that's, if you think about what's your service, I think that's a really
Mhm.
good question for everybody to ask themselves.
Mhm.
What's your service? And how can you live that service in the world? What's in the way of that happening? And if you have these programs running, like, I never get it right, I'm not good enough, and I don't matter, um, releasing those are going to go a long way
Mhm.
to help people heal.
Yeah, so let's talk about that release process and the
Mhm.
transformation process. So, what do you find are like some of the most important foundational steps to begin to heal from it?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, is recognizing that this is what's going on in your system, and that there's a connection between that and maybe illness or pain that you have in your body, and looking at those things. And then I think the first thing is always making a decision, and it's making a full body decision that I'm going to heal this. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to find the people who are going to help me. I'm going to do what I need to do to help heal myself from these. These wounds that I have, these primary wounds that come from narcissistic abuse. And then, when you make that decision, just from a spiritual standpoint, all these things come to you. You'll have books will come to you, videos, practitioners, all the things that you need will just come your way. And then you start using your intuition. This is key, is getting your intuition, getting in touch with that part of you to help lead you and guide you through your own experience of healing. That is a primary thing that your narcissistic parent will separate you from, is your intuitive self. Because if it's your inner guidance system, they don't want you to be guided by your inner guidance system. You need
Mm,
to be guided by them and
mm.
only them. So this is that
That's
authoritarian
an interesting
power.
point. So your intuition is actually threatening to their power dynamics. That's interesting.
100%. Yeah, and a lot of people don't talk about this. This is really key, is getting in touch with that inner voice.
So there's a reclamation of your own inner voice, your own inner guidance system. So you're no longer, being governed by the narcissistic parent. What are some of the things that you do to kind of cultivate and clear your energy field so there's less of that impact that you're just describing before?
Yeah, so I mean, whole person integration technique, something we're going to be doing a little bit of in a minute, in a few, but that's the primary technique that I created to help clear the energy from the field. And so you think about, so say you feel really stuck in a specific emotion, like you feel stuck in anger. This anger and rage are two things that we feel a lot of with narcissistic parents, because we have to push it down. We don't, there's no place to go with it. If you do get enraged with them, the warfare just escalates. It becomes awful, just terrible. So we learn not to do that. So we turn it in. And so whole person integration technique helps you work with the rage itself versus the story of the rage,
Hmm.
meaning the rage has its own story, but you also have the story. And when we recycle our stories and we keep telling them to ourselves over and over and over again, ruminating, it actually makes things worse on us. It keeps our nervous system, and I say nervous system equals energy system, and it keeps our energy system from flowing naturally the way it needs to.
Hmm.
So we work with the stuck emotional energy, how that relates to the physical body, and helping people to release that energy from the field, which
Mm.
then helps them create a different experience for themselves, because it also helps to release the belief that's underneath the emotion.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's an interesting point. So it seems like a lot of times the story is the defense against the energy, not like actually helping work it through. So you have to kind of like drop people below that.
Yeah, yeah, drop them deeper into the subconscious mind and into the body. Because, I mean, really, the subconscious mind and the body are one thing, so that you can release the experience that you've been holding, that emotional experience you're holding.
Hmm. And you were kind of implying that the belief you have to kind of let the energy release and move and heal before you can get at the subterranean beliefs underneath it.
It's really whole person integration technique takes you into the emotional energy and then the belief that that emotion is also holding, because the thoughts, the feelings, and the beliefs are really tied together in these experiences of, say, being belittled over and over and over again and feeling like I never get it right, I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
um yeah.
Great. Do you want to bring any of the current science around adverse childhood experiences into this and kind of help us understand how what the research is showing about this too?
Yeah, I think it's very important to look at the science behind how we get sick emotion from an emotional standpoint, really looking at emotional root cause of illness and pain in the body. It's something that I think we should do first in medicine. And so, doing my part here with this one. But adverse childhood experiences study is the largest public health study ever done. It was done at Kaiser Permanente in San Diego, California, and it's been ongoing since the mid 90s. And then they've done copycat studies all over the world that have produced the same results. And what it looked at were abusive experiences that can happen in the home prior to the age of 18. They have the ACE quiz, which has a 10-question quiz, and then you'll get your ACE score. And if your score is 4 or above, each with each number above that, you're susceptible to specific illnesses, and substance abuse. That's a key one that's also in there as well. Um, Mental illnesses are also on this, but some of the physical illnesses that we see a lot are lung diseases, things that have to do with the lungs and the heart. And if you think about the heart chakra, that heart center, and how heartbroken you are when you grow up in this kind of environment where you're not seen, you're not heard, you're not understood, and you're belittled and shamed. And the lungs in Chinese medicine are the seat of grief. And so we're looking at the grieving that goes on with having a parent like this, the great disappointment, because from a spiritual standpoint, that your parent is supposed to be there to love and nurture you and care for you. It's just like an archetypal thing that we have wired into us, but we're seeing the complete opposite getting played out
Hmm.
in our experience.
Hmm. How much do you find that it's important to really create a fully separated, energetic, emotional experience, not sort of try to be even a helpful influence on the narcissistic parent?
I'm sorry, can you
I was just
restate that?
curious, like, how much do you need to kind of really step away completely versus try to like continue to have a, so I imagine it's easy to get
Yeah.
hooked in again.
Yeah, you mean like continuing to have the relationship with them
Yeah.
even as they age and all of that. Yeah, that can be incredibly difficult and it's very, very personal. Some people do go no contact, some people go low contact. But no matter what you do, becoming your sovereign self is going to be incredibly important because that
Hmm.
actually gives you the most information as to which way you should go with the contact and being around your narcissistic parent. Because as you get more solid in yourself, you're able to show up and not take on the impact of their energy.
Hmm.
Um, but we've been trained to do that. So a lot of the releasing that we do in this work helps you, releasing of those thoughts, feelings, and beliefs really helps you to be able to stand in your power and still be around them, and then create boundaries that you can actually enforce.
That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, there's a lot of layers to this. So let's talk a little bit, or actually let's do an experience of
Mhm.
the whole person integration technique that you've created, and really maybe set that up a little bit of context and give us a little a taste of what that looks like.
Okay. So, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the emotion of anxiety because anxiety is a key emotion that we'll feel. Anxiety is really a collection of emotions. There's a lot of fear in anxiety. So, we're going to look at that. And so, I just want people to just think about like what you're anxious about. It could be something in your present day, something going on in your life in another relationship. It could be something going on with your narcissistic parent. But you'll feel that anxiousness that can really affect the stomach. And so start thinking about these holistic connections. It'll affect the stomach and you'll feel that energy in the stomach. And so maybe you have ulcers, maybe you have stomach issues, maybe you have food sensitivities. So just start making those holistic connections. And so think about this thing going on in your life that brings a lot of anxiety, or maybe it's just generalized anxiety you feel all the time. So, all right, so think about that. And then what I want you to do next is I want you to go ahead and close your eyes and take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Take another deep breath in when you're ready and out through the mouth. And then one more deep breath. Feeling your body relax as you exhale. And now I want you to think about this situation that is bringing a lot of anxiety, or just that generalized anxiety feeling that you're feeling. And then I want you to scan your body and I want you to look for your anxiety. Where are you feeling it? And you may be feeling it in multiple places, but I want you to go to the place that's the loudest. And then just notice where that is in your body. And then also notice, like, wait, do you have any particular illnesses or pains or persistent symptoms in that part of your body? So you start to make these connections as well. And now, next thing I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you're going into that part of your body, and I want you to look for your anxious self. Look for your anxiety. And you're either going to see what it looks like or you're going to sense what it looks like. Just note, what does it look like? And then I want you to ask it, what is it thinking? What is it feeling? So the thoughts will give you the beliefs and the feelings will give you the emotions. Because there's multiple emotions going on here simultaneously underneath that anxiety. And you can feel free to ask it a question that will help you understand more about what it's thinking, feeling, and believing. Now, as you notice and understand more deeply what it's thinking, feeling, and believing, and then you notice how that's affecting your physical body and how that's affecting your life, I want you to get to a point where you can say, I don't want to keep this in my body anymore. I don't want to keep this anxious self in this part of my body. I can see how it's hurting me and I'm ready to let it go. Just remembering this is one layer of your anxiety. It's the one that's right in front that your soul sent you today to help you release. So the next thing that we're going to do is I want you to feel your heart and I want you to call on your loving self, the most beautiful, brilliant, loving part of you. And your loving self can look like an angel, a beam of light, whatever it is that makes you, connects you with love. And I want you to bring that loving self, that beautiful, brilliant, loving self to that part of your body. And just feel as the loving self sends their love right into that anxious self. Sometimes the anxious self is scared of the loving self. Whatever it is, whatever the reaction is, just give them a moment. And if you need to have the loving self just double that current of love, just go ahead and let them do that. And then see as the anxious self changes. And when you start to see it change, I'm going to ask that the loving self is going to put a beautiful column of white light from up above you, coming down around you. And I want you to see as the loving self sends that energy, that anxious self, up the column of light, out of your body, and off to love school, where it's going to learn more about love. And as it learns more about love, so do you. And now notice your body and how does it feel? It may feel a lot lighter. It might feel just a little bit lighter. Any little bit is helpful. Any little bit tells you too that you were able to release some of that energy from your field. And now I want you to also think, what spiritual quality would you really like to be feeling? It could be peace, love, kindness, caring, compassion. And just choose a quality. And then imagine that quality is going into that part of your body, filling up that space where it once was. And then feel as that spiritual quality floods your entire body and out into your energy field. And we're going to ask that energy that you asked to come into your system will continue to walk with you and work with you as you move forward in your life. And when you feel that warmth and that oneness and you feel ready, you can take a deep breath and gently come back.
Good. Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
You want to share anything about working with and integrating anything that arose during that guided process?
Yeah, absolutely. I would encourage you to write down the thoughts, the feelings, and beliefs that came up, because that helps you to really understand those holistic connections and the belief that was underneath the experience of your anxiety. And then, so look at that. And as you move forward in your life, whatever it was that you chose as your spiritual quality, I want you to think of yourself as being in a class in the school of life, and you are using that spiritual quality, or you're studying that quality so that you can expand it in your life. So if you chose compassion, for instance, you can enter the study of compassion. And as you move forward, just as you're going to sleep at night or in your meditations, you can ask for that energy to come back into your system and flood your system. Because a key part of whole person integration technique is predicated on the ideas that we know that emotions can make us sick just by things that we say, right? Like, that person makes me sick to my stomach, or I have a sick headache, but they can also make us well. And so we're shifting into that understanding of emotional wellness by embodying the qualities that we inherently had when we came into this life. We all have access to compassion, kindness, peace, caring, all of those things, but we want to embody those things, right? And so this is what we're setting out on the process of doing, is embodying those emotions. So those become our go-to emotions versus the shame, the guilt, the rage, the anger, and those things that our narcissistic parent really projected onto us.
So it's kind of restoring your emotional body to the factory settings, it sounds like.
Yes, that's exactly. I often refer to it as you're deleting an old app and installing a new and much more improved one. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's an entrainment with that positive capacities rather than the entrainment with the old patterns.
Right. And you're not bypassing what's underneath the surface. And I think
Mhm.
that's really key, because when you have narcissistic programming, you could get into all these wonderful spiritual practices, but still feel like the programming is running. And that's something that's really important to address, so that you're not spiritually bypassing without your knowledge. You don't even understand that you're doing that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'd love for you to just paint a little bit of the arc of like when people go on a longer term healing journey, like you're going to
Mhm.
be taking people on your upcoming course, just like some of the stages of how that tends to unfold, and just kind of paint the big picture of how you kind of go from really taking this on and making a huge shift and over time how it evolves.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's such an individual way that we've all stored our energy, and we do this in ways to try to survive, to get through the experience. And so for each person, it's really about what's up for you specifically. But there are specific patterns that I see over and over and over again. Of course, specific beliefs that I see over and over again. Um, Ones that will drive all these behaviors like people pleasing, perfectionism. Um, it will drive, all these, and sometimes even like you having emotional outbursts, and you're just like, where did that come from? That's so much like my parent was, and I don't want to be like that. And so those are things that actually can be healed through the whole process of um, of really looking at how you've been storing the energy holistically, and loving and releasing those parts of the self, while also embodying and embracing the parts of the self were that have always been there, and that we've been separated from by our narcissistic parent. Because you think about how much power, the true power, lies in your compassion, peace, loving parts of you, the kindness, the caring, and your own individual and unique self. And this is key, is learning to stand inside of your individual unique self, and being that, is that's where the power is. So that
Hmm.
you're really separating out fully from your narcissistic parent.
Hmm. Well, Dr. Meg, you have quite a holistic understanding and deeply compassionate view of this process and so much experience. It's really been revelatory to just talk with you for this hour. I want to spend some time talking more about your upcoming course, which is in a unique and powerful way to make a commitment to yourself, to
Mhm.
make a real transformation around these areas. So, Dr. Meg is teaching a brand new course for Shift. It's called Heal the Energetic Wounds of Narcissistic Trauma. Release false beliefs, repair root causes of disease, and reclaim self-worth. You can find it at the URL healingnarcissistictrauma.com, healingnarcissistictrauma.com. It's a 7-week program. There are no prerequisites for this, and it's just as if it's up for you and you want to engage in this healing journey. And I would say that collectively, we have a lot of people who have this trauma coming to the surface right now. So it's a good time to work with it when it's up in the zeitgeist and perhaps triggering your own unhealed pieces as well. So let's talk a little bit about the course from your perspective. So what are some of your intentions of what people will come away with, Dr. Meg?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. So the intention is really to come away with, one, some tools that'll really help you as these particular beliefs of I'm not good enough, I don't get it right, I don't matter, start to surface. Um, and and that's going to be a big piece of this, is that you'll have all of the meditations that we do throughout the course to do for all time. So it's going to help you far beyond the course. The intention is also to help you to understand these holistic connections. How is this thing, these wounds that I've been carrying, how are those associated with the body, and how they've been draining me over time, and how can we bring that energy back into self, so that you have more energy to run your life the way that you would like to run your life. More energy available to you, is it's just so empowering. You'll feel lighter, you'll feel freer. You'll just have a better understanding of self, and your holistic connections, and you'll feel a lot of freedom after taking this course, for sure.
Mm, it sounds great. What a gift to give to yourself. So let's go through the actual program
Mhm.
and let's start with some of the modules. So the first module is called Release the Root of Helplessness to reconnect to your sense of safety, strength, and stability.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to go up through the energy system. We're going to start at the root, and we're going to look at safety, because that's something that we don't feel safe. We don't feel secure. And any kind of safety or security we start to get, just we get knocked right off of our center. So in this course, we're going to look at the helplessness that comes with narcissistic abuse, and that feeling that we have a lot. We may not always be able to identify it because these become normalized feelings. And so releasing the helplessness and that those beliefs associated from the root will help you so much with reconnecting with your presence here and connecting to Earth, Mother Earth herself. Yeah.
Module 2, liberate your stuck inner child to reclaim your worth, expression, and emotional freedom.
Yeah. So the second center, the human energy system, is in the abdominal region of the body. And this is where I see a lot of illness going on. This is another piece that you'll get throughout each one of these modules, as you'll understand how what's going on in that part of the body and how the body is drained by these experiences. And so the second center is your inner child. And so we're going to work with your inner child in helping to release that part of you from your those beliefs of I never get it right, I'm not good enough, which anybody who was raised by a narcissistic parent can truly understand.
Module 3, restore your solar plexus power to replace self-doubt with confidence.
Yes. So your solar plexus is your adult self. That's your thinking mind. And so we're going to work with that part of the self. Like I said earlier, that's the part where the narcissistic parent really hooks in and pulls on your personal power to help restore that part of you, that confidence, or build confidence that you feel like you may not have ever really had.
Module 4, open your heart center to feel greater love, connection, and inner safety.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The belief of I am unlovable is something that we carry a lot. And again, we may not always identify exactly these beliefs, but this module will really help you understand the energy you've been storing in your heart, the heartbreak that I talked about earlier, too, the heartache that comes with being treated like this by your own parent. And so this will help you with opening your heart and restoring that energy in the heart center, which really is the balancing agent for your whole system. Your upper centers are spiritual, your lower centers are about your earthly life, and this will help balance that.
Module 5, unblock your throat chakra to awaken your expression, confidence, and flow.
Okay, this center, everyone who has been through narcissistic abuse understands something that I always refer to as a prison of silence, and this is what your parents put you into. You've been silenced to tell the truth. And so we're going to work with how that separates us from our own true expression and reconnecting you with that true expression. And if you're already feeling connected to that, to go deeper into your true self and your authentic self, and what are maybe some of the blocks that are happening for you as you move through healing this center. It's very, very important center.
Module 6, connect with your intuitive centers to feel more seen, connected, and spiritually aligned.
Yeah, so we're going to go up into the third eye, the seventh, the sixth and seventh chakras really have a lot to do, or everything to do, with our intuitive abilities, our connection to a higher power, and to our spiritual beliefs and spiritual connection. And as that opens up more, you get more connected with your purpose, your meaning. Those big questions like, who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? All get answered through that part of the self. And so when we remove some of these beliefs that we're holding, that are holding us back and are separating us from our true intuitive nature, it can help to reconnect us so that we can listen to that inner voice and let it lead us forward in our lives.
Module 7, integrate your energy centers to create a life rooted in self-trust, power, and possibility.
Yeah. And so this module 7 is really bringing everything together, integrating the system, and then also creating a plan for you moving forward as you navigate the wounds of narcissistic abuse. The whole course is really laying a foundation for you to be able to do that and to have these tools available for you to use over and over and over again. So it just keeps giving as you move forward in your life.
Well, what a profound and important program for, I think, for anybody who has this in their history. And it's really a perfect time to do this healing work now to reclaim yourself and really embark on a whole system upgrade. And so, again, the whole program is laid out in detail at healingnarcissistictrauma.com, healingnarcissistictrauma.com. So we'll share a little bit more about it. So if you choose to move forward, you're going to get those 7 90-minute live sessions with Dr. Meg, each of which has really profound offerings for you. And that's going to include interactive practices as well as time to ask your questions live. You also get recordings of every session, both video and audio, which gives you opportunity to go back and really integrate what you might have missed the first time. There's full word-for-word transcripts. There's weekly practices for home. There's a community to support you and deepen your experience, as well as small group time to connect with other participants and discuss some of the key points that are made. So those are all really helpful to create a community of support and practice around this work. On the page, you'll also see there are a number of extra bonuses that Dr. Meg has been generous in adding to the program to enhance your journey. There's a video called What Narcissistic Abuse Does to the Body and How to Heal Masterclass. Dr. Meg, you want to share more about that?
Yeah, narcissistic abuse and what it does to the body. So this masterclass will help you understand those holistic connections I was talking about and the ways that your energy system has been drained by this experience of being emotionally abused. And then also a key part of the course I haven't mentioned yet that's really important, that's extra, is really about food and the foods that are connected with the system that can help to support the body to heal itself, because it's all one, right? We're a holistic system. So that bonus will really help you understand those connections more deeply.
That's just one bonus. Then there's a second bonus. It's a video interview with Dr. Meg and Pi Venus Winslow. It's called The Holistic Impact of Narcissistic Abuse. Want to share more about that bonus as well?
Yeah, this is a great conversation between myself and another spiritually based, holistic practitioner of a narcissistic abuse recovery coach. So it's a great conversation between the two of us about this work and how it can help you heal mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, and spiritually.
It's a great bonus. And then there's a third bonus that's your special bonus if you choose to move forward today by midnight. This gives you an extra incentive to really take the time to tune in. And if you choose to move forward today, you're going to get an audio from Dr. Meg called Energize, Worth, and Value. Sounds like it's a lot about that reprogramming and rescripting. You want to share more about that?
It absolutely is, Stephen. It's a really beautiful meditation that I just brought in for this purpose, for you all, to help start your day in a more integrated way, so that you feel that connection to self more deeply, and it's not so much about releasing as it is restoring your whole body, restoring your whole center, all the centers of the human energy system, to begin your day in a more empowered way. Yeah.
Great extra bonus and a great extra reason to sign up right away by midnight tonight Pacific time. So again, there's more detail on those bonuses and all the modules at healingnarcissistictrauma.com. Few other things about the program. So we've kept the investment for very accessible, given the value and the depth that this goes to. It's just 3 payments of $128. You can save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start May 27th and run Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can get the full value with the recordings and transcripts in the community as well. There's some beautiful testimonials on the page from people whose lives have been blessed, healed, and empowered by Dr. Meg. So you're in really good hands, and you're going to get a very holistic approach. The one that has spiritual grounding, psychological grounding, somatic grounding is really going to approach this in a very holistic way. So again, the whole program is laid out in detail at healingnarcissistictrauma.com, and you will get that special bonus of the audio morning meditation to energize worth and value by midnight tonight. So, Dr. Meg, we're getting near the end of our time. Anything that's still on your heart that you still wanted to share, and just a final invitation to join you in the program?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me here and on the Shift Network. It's just this course, I feel like it's just one of the best things I've ever created, because the programming that we go through with narcissistic abuse is so deep and so embedded in our energy systems that releasing ourselves from it creates a level of freedom that if this is speaking to you, and if your intuition is lighting up and you're just like, I have to do this, just go with it. Everything you need will show up for you. It always does. And remember too to take your healing into your own hands. It's one of the most important things that you'll ever do for yourself.
Mm, beautiful. Well, Dr. Meg, you are a blessing for all of us. Thank you so much for your wisdom and your depth of inquiry in this area and the holistic system you've really created with the whole person integration technique as well. So again, the whole program for our upcoming course is at healingnarcissistictrauma.com, and the course again is called Heal the Energetic Wounds of Narcissistic Trauma, Release False Beliefs, Repair Root Causes of Disease, and Reclaim Self-Worth. And you'll get that special bonus by midnight tonight, which is the audio morning meditation to energize worth and value. So thank you so much, Dr. Meg. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. See you soon.